Hello everyone. So there was a question, interesting question actually, and very valid question about finding the sprint when the issue was actually completed. Now, if you're using Jira software and if you're using Scrum and if you're using sprints properly, then I'm sure you know that you can of course create your sprints, and within your sprints you will commit some stories to be delivered. Now there is a report, in fact, couple of reports where you can see in a particular sprint what all issues you delivered, right? But at the same time, there is also a field on the issue that actually stores this information. So if let us say the issue is part of sprint one, then sprint one will be the sprint field, and at the same time sprint can be changed, or basically issue can be moved from one sprint to another sprint. That happens, right? And once you do that, the sprint field is also updated. And that is a question Tobias is asking. I want to know in which sprint the issue was actually completed. And I can understand why Tobias is asking this question, because you want to report on it. That if, let us say, I have three sprints, I want to know by looking at the issue in which sprint it was actually delivered. And by the way, sprints, or I should say, an issue can also be reopened. So let me first show you a few things. So if I go to my Jira instance, and if I maybe open one of my issue where I may have a sprint. So let us say, I mean, not a sprint, but yeah, a sprint, but an issue. If I look at this issue, and if I look at the sprint information, this is part of sprint 2, right? And if I go to the backlog, I can of course create one more sprint. Let us do that. So let us create one more sprint, and let me also add something, maybe a couple of issues to it. For example, if I just look at let me just look at the same issue, AN218. So AN218, where are you? AN218, yeah, this one. So let me just move it to sprint 3, right? And if I move it to sprint 3, it will of course ask you and just prompt you that the sprint scope has been changed. But if you look at the issue again, it will show you in sprint 3. Now, if you do some search, let us say we are talking about Android project. So by the way, whenever you resolve an issue, something happens, right? And that something is actually very interesting. So before I do that, let me just search for the issues. I'll open advanced issue search, and I'll directly open key is equal to AN-218, right? Just to show you. So basically, if you look at this AN218, I'll probably switch to the list view. And there are a few fields like resolution. It says resolution is unresolved. And also there is this field called resolved. So what you can do, and of course we have the sprint, which is in sprint 3, right? Now you can actually write a query based on resolution. For example, I mean, I'm just using the key here so that I can pinpoint this specific issue. So if I say resolution is empty, so basically this fulfills the criteria. And if you now go back to the issue and if you resolve it, come on, I want to get rid of this. So let us resolve this, and I'll just move it to done. And the moment you resolve it, you have to, I mean, depending upon your configuration, you can of course update the resolution, or you can also do it automatically using a post function. Come on, I need to also specify the time. Let me do it 1 hour. I spent 1 hour working on this. And once you do this, you can see here that if you now and like run this query, this will fail because resolution is no longer empty. And what I wanted to show you and tell you is that you can actually look at the resolution if it is not empty, or if it is empty, or if it is not empty, if it is filled in for whatever reason. Basically, Jira considers resolution field and it uses the resolution field to figure out whether the issue requires any further work or not. Now you may resolve an issue, or you may close an issue with a resolution called as not fixed, but you are basically saying that the issue is now closed and the life cycle has ended. Now you can also reopen the issue and that can happen, right? So let us say you move the app. Let us say you reopen it. Let us reopen it. Let us move it to in progress. For some reason you were not able to do it, and if you go back to the same issue, you can see the resolution is now unresolved. So in my case, I'm most likely I have like. So what I'm trying to say is that whenever you reopen the issue or whenever you move it out of the final state, make sure you clear the resolution field, and you can do that with the help of a post function. And depending upon, because I mean, yes, you can do it using post function. So let us go to the project settings, and let us go to the workflows, and because I'm just trying to show you how this works. And if I go back to the so you can actually do this using basically when you are looking at this resolved, and when you look at the post function, usually you have one more option here called resolution. This can also be updated automatically based on your board configurations. If you're not using the post function, for example, if you update a field here, let us say you want to clear a field value or you want to update issue field. Basically you want to make sure the field is updated. Sometimes you have a transition that is actually very specific to what you're doing. For example, your transition might say you're rejecting something, right? And in that case, the resolution has to be reject, something like that. So you can actually use the field value here based on the transition, or you can actually make this field maybe a mandatory field, right? And this works nicely. At the same time, if you want to look at the board, let's look at the board again. And if I go back to the board of my project, you can also do it using the board settings. So if you go to the columns, and if you look at the resolution, there is a checkbox, and this checkbox will actually make sure the issue is updated with the resolution automatically. When you are making a transition, you can also clear it using post function. So this is something that you have to make sure. And if you do these things, basically the whole point of using a resolution field is to figure out whether the issue was actually resolved or not, because you can't really do that easily with the help of status, because status will, you can do it with the help of a status, maybe use status like status is equal to close or resolved, but the resolution, the way Jira considers an issue complete or not complete, or whether like a final closure, it relies on the resolution. All the reports are actually based on the resolution, and you can use resolution not empty, and then look at the sprint, because if you update the sprint will show you the field will show you the last sprint if you change it. And that is it. That is all I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you found this video useful and you learned something new. Thank you very much. Bye bye.